And welcome to our science session for today. Today we'll be focusing on the classification of living things with the main focus on the dichotomous key. So let's get right into it. All right. Our first question here is, why do scientists place living things in different groups? That's our first question we have here. Why do scientists place living things in different groups? If you are sitting with someone or if you're by yourself right now, I'd like you to just write your answers down, pause the video, write your answers down, and then eventually we're going to get back to it. All right. Okay, so now that you have your answer, the correct answer is so they can organize them and name them. Take a look at this picture here right now. On the left, you can see that the image or the items in the image are basically disorganized. When placed in order, you can see it's easier to find something. If this was my desk and I asked you guys to go and get, or someone to go and get a pencil for me, it would be easier for that person to find a pencil in the image on the right rather than that on the left, because everything is disorganized. So by putting things into order, it is easier to identify them. All right, so that's for this one. Whenever we're classifying things, it is important that we know the characteristic of the things which we are characterizing. So we're classifying, sorry. So what you need to do is to ensure that you know the characteristics or the 7 characteristics of living things. So what I want you guys to do for me right now is to take a sheet of paper, the same book that you have right now, and I want you to write down any amount of the 7 characteristics of living things that you remember. Pause the video and write them down. All right, now that we have that, let's check to make sure that your answers that you have are correct. Number 1, the first one is all living things must grow. The second one, all living things must breathe. Respiration, very important. Without air, we're all dead. Then all living things reproduce. Every living thing you know about reproduces, all right? Then the next one we have here is feed. Every living thing must eat, followed by respond to stimuli. Every living thing has feeling. Whenever you pinch someone, that person screams. If you chop a limb on the tree, all the leaves on that end is going to die. All right? Then the next one here is move. All living things move with an exception of trees. We cannot classify tree movement as moving because it is not independent. And if you say it grows, then that would fall under the characteristics of growth. And finally, we have excrete or get rid of waste. All living thing has waste that they produce and must get rid of. Okay, so those are the 7 characteristics of living things. Check to make sure your answers are correct. If they're not, write down these ones and cross-reference them. Okay, let's move forward. Now we're looking at the history of the classification system of living things here on Earth, or in the time frame that we have been here. And so what I want us to look at now is the guy who first came up with the classification system, and that person was Aristotle. Well, he had a system of classification. So let's look at his system that he had for classification. He said that Aristotle first classified the organism by those that fly, those that swim, and those that walk. Let me run it again. This is the system that he's using. He's classifying animals based on those that can 1, fly, those that can 2, swim, and those that can walk. So 3 areas of focus to classify a different animal. So it says here, I want you to tell me right now if you think that this is the system that we're still using today. Are we still using this system today to classify animals? Are we putting animals into group that can, one group, if all animals can fly, we put them in that group. If all animals can walk, we put them in the same group again, regardless of the number of legs that they have. And also, if an animal can swim, we put them in that group again. Whether they live in the water or not, as long as you can swim, you go into that group. Do we still use the system today? Yes or no? I want you to answer that for me. Okay? Here is a picture of Aristotle. He was a Greek philosopher who basically lived way back 1100 BC, somewhere around that era. Okay, so that is Aristotle. So is Aristotle's system still being used today by modern scientists? The answer for that, class, is no. We are not using that system today. Because the reason why this one works, is that since there are some organisms like duck can do all 3. A duck can walk, a duck can swim, and a duck can fly. And caterpillars change from walking to flying when they become butterflies or moth during their life cycle. So this system is not in use today. My next question that I have for you guys is, who is Linnaeus? So who is Linnaeus? I have here that he's referred to as the father of taxonomy. I will be showing you guys a short video on Linnaeus to give you guys a bit more idea of who he actually is and some of the work that he has done that we are still using today, not that of Aristotle, however. So take a look at this short video. All right.
Was a Swede, born in 1707, and early in his career as a botanist, he realized that the botanical nomenclature of 18th century Europe was career as a botanist, he realized that the botanical nomenclature of 18th century Europe was, well, just crap. For instance, in his day, the formal name of a tomato plant was Solanum caule inerme herbaceofolus pinnatus incisus racemus simplicibus. Linnaeus actually said, "Once I shudder at the sight of most botanical names given by modern authorities." Not only did the sloppiness bother him, he saw a whole sugar storm blowing in, because new plants were still being discovered in Europe, but that was nothing compared to the crazy stuff that was coming from the New World. Linnaeus saw that pretty soon naming conventions were just going to collapse under all these new things to name, and then what? So Linnaeus famously started off by naming himself. He came from a peasant family, and at that time surnames were just for rich people. So when Carl went to college, they asked him for his surname, and he just made one up, Linnaeus, after the linden trees that grew on his family's homestead. Linnaeus got a medical degree and became a professor at Uppsala University, where he devoted himself to the study of nomenclature. He had his students go to places and bring back specimens for him to study and categorize. The method.
So that was a bit about Carlos Linnaeus. Now let's take a look at his system of classification here now. He describes and goes on to say here, he called it taxonomy. So the system of classification is referred to as taxonomy, and the 7 layers go from general to specific groups. Now the first layer is the kingdom, followed by phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. He used the genus and species to give each species its own name and called this binomial nomenclature. So that's a bit about his work. So let's take a look at the classification system here. Here you can see the system of classification is referred to as a hierarchy of biological classification, starting at the bottom, which is kingdom, which can be plant, animal, which we'll get into as we go further into our studies here in Standard 5, followed by phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So this is the system that was devised by Carl Linnaeus, and it is still being used today as we speak, all right? Very good. Now that you've been given all the information and you can actually go back and look at it once more again, I want you to answer these questions that follow right now. The first question I want you guys to answer for me is, why do you think Linnaeus decided each organism needed a specific name? Let me read that again. Why do you think Linnaeus decide each organism need a specific name? And the second one I want you to do for me is to research 5 facts about Carl Linnaeus and his system of classification. And when you're finished with that, I would like you to send these to me via image on my WhatsApp personal number. All right, so this is our little segment for today. We'll continue with classification throughout this entire month. So at the end of this segment, we should know what is the classification system, what is taxonomy, and we should also know how to use a dichotomous key to find the name of a species or a specific animal. So stay along with us, all right? Enjoy.